All right, everybody. Welcome back. Episode 1
to WWE Wrestling, Cleveland, Ohio, 1979. My name is Tyler Allen, and with me once again is Jake Williams. Jake, we are in for quite an event tonight. Hulk Hogan is taking on Andre the Giant for the 97th time this month. What do you say is going to happen here in the Cleveland Thunderdome? Me and Jake running down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and banging chicks and drinking booze
No, not
and
me.
smoking weed.
Me. I'm married.
Yeah, well,
I'm married.
Jake,
Can't do that.
Yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler. We're live again for the drive time commute. The traffic right now is bumper to bumper from alley to alley all over the city. If you're trying to get home, don't. You're fucked. You're fucked. How long was that?
A minute? 5?
Did I swear in the cold open, though?
I don't remember. I don't even know what happened.
Probably didn't, because, back in 1979, you couldn't say fuck.
But now here we are.
Anywhere.
That's what we fight for every day, people. That's we are free speech warriors.
Nerdrotic and Melody Mac don't want you to be able to say the word fuck. I say fuck you.
No,
to them.
they just like to say a different F word.
Yeah.
Or at least she does.
Yikes. Jesus. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I took the Lord's name.
Speaking of Jesus,
let's talk about.
How was your Easter?
I went to a brunch and there was homemade cream puffs, and then my mom brought blueberries, fresh blueberries.
What's a cream puff?
It's a light puff pastry with literally just whipped cream in the middle, and most of them were circular, but there were a couple that were shaped like bunny heads, and those were wow. Somebody made deviled eggs. I don't know if you've ever had brunch, ladies and gentlemen, but
this new thing these kids are trying called brunch.
I was amazed. I'd never heard of such a thing, but I said, let's give it a try, wacky kids.
What a tasty
treat.
Let
me tell you, let me just tell you what you're in for. Have you ever had bacon and eggs and a salad? That's brunch. Brunch.
Well, I had a good time. Did a couple Easter egg hunts with my son.
How did you do?
Pretty good. He was ready to go, man. He was keyed up.
Nice.
And hold him back.
Nice.
He had that dog in him,
Mm-hmm.
Some would say the Easter bunny.
The Easter bunny
spirit.
dog. The Easter dog bunny.
So I was thinking about Easter itself as a holiday.
I feel like
I think it was a weird. I always think Good Friday has been a weird thing.
Yeah.
Because you're like, we're celebrating the death of our Messiah, and then in a couple days you're like, but he's back. Just weird. Good Friday is a weird choice, in my opinion.
I do got to reiterate that this whole story of awesomeness for Jesus, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. But
I don't know Jesus personally.
There's an unsung tragedy in all of this, and that's Bob, the guy who worked his way all the way up to be the spear guy. He's the guy who
kills Jesus.
He pokes the crucified dudes in the belly with the spear, and that pretty much does him in.
Yeah, they bleed out.
He worked his way up to that. And
he earned that job.
The first time he ever gets to do it is this random dude named Jesus of Nazareth. And he's like, no fucking problem. I got this shit. I've been working for this my whole goddamn life just to be
this guy could do a couple party tricks.
Guy.
Big deal.
His name is Bob. And he pokes Jesus, and everybody's like, you know what, Bob? Later on that night at the bar, I've never seen anybody poke that spear into somebody's guts. That's awesome, Bob. 3 days later, this guy comes rising out from the grave, and guess what Bob's supervisor was like? Bob, you had one fucking job. The only time that anybody has come back from being poked in the spear and bled out is your guy. You're never going to be the spear guy again. And that guy, let's talk about Bob the spear guy, who had to go back to being Bob the nail guy for the rest of his stinking life. Just saying.
He's lucky he didn't get crucified.
I'm just saying.
Think about Bob on Easter, everybody.
Think about Bob
Think
on
about
Easter,
Bob the random
everybody. I'm calling attention to that because I am a let's be I am
Would the
Christian.
movie be Bob Her?
Bob Her.
Instead of Ben Hur, it's Bob Her.
I am Bobicus. I am Bobicus. I am Bobicus.
So let's
I am Bobicus. What?
So let's
No, I just wanted to say a little something. I am a Christian, and I grew up Christian and everything, and I do believe in the,
This,
like, the whole
this is a family show.
Jesus. Fuck. No, yeah. Well, no, I wasn't doing the two together. I was about to start talking.
Jesus, comma, fuck.
Well, that was more of a parentheses, like fuck, like at you. I'm trying to talk here. I grew up and being Christian and everything, and I do believe in Jesus Christ. I do believe that He existed. I do believe in that there is something out there and whatnot. But lately, I've been really, really, really turned off by the direction like churches are going these days. There's a lot of fire and brimstone and, oh my God, the world is going to shit because people aren't going to churches anymore. And the people who do still go to churches are becoming more and more like...
yeah, it's never good to have
it's fucking scary a little bit.
political beliefs blending with religion.
Fuck to the no, dude. And
vice versa. It's never. They
So
shouldn't mix.
I hope you had a happy Easter, but if you're one of those like crusader dudes, stay the fuck away, dude. I don't have any patience for that bullshit. Have a nice day. Praise Jesus. Do we have any sound bites or anything for that? Did you get my fucking text, my goddamn email? Did you get my
Let me
goddamn?
just check my phone during
Let
the
me
show.
check my phone during the show. You must be out of your goddamn mind.
That's right. We're gonna be talking about X-Men '97 now. We're just gonna move on to the main topic.
I'm
First-
start eating a fucking cookie in the middle of a goddamn broadcast. What the fuck is wrong with me?
All right, so we're talking about so X-Men '97 episode 3.
Yes.
I don't remember the title of this one, but we get some interesting introductions, and it looks like we are headed down the path that we thought, at least with Nathan and all that stuff. And this is obviously going to be spoilers because this episode.
You actually were the one who got it right last week.
What?
I was thinking that it was maybe the original X-Men, like they just did. And you were the one that said maybe it's...
I said Madeline Pryor, didn't
You
I?
brought up the Jean Grey.
Yeah. Excuse me. I don't think I actually said Madeline Pryor, but I was like, I'm pretty sure there's like a clone thing, and I couldn't remember her name.
We went into it. I talked about it a little bit, but she was in the Inferno saga. She ended up being the Goblin Queen in... Listen,
And that was how they explained Jean Grey not committing a genocide.
Cool.
With the Phoenix stuff. Because that was how they brought her back, but they had to also be like, well, she did commit like horrible atrocities. And like, well, that wasn't her, that was the Phoenix. So.
Sure.
And so all of this is, from the comics. This whole storyline is from the comics. So the idea of
very, very truncated version of Cable's origin, but the elements are all there.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that we went from introducing him to immediately giving him the technovirus within an episode. I was kind of surprised by that. But I guess that is in the continuity that he's always had that virus, right?
Right, and I can't remember. I don't know if it's Sinister who gives it to him in the comics. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it is, because Sinister is obsessed with...
I thought he got it sometime in the future.
Legit. Sinister's thing is like he's obsessed with the Summers family. He's obsessed with Summers' DNA.
Right, but no,
So he's always trying to make.
I'm saying that it may very well have been. It may very well have ended up that that's why Cable went to the future, is because he was infected with the techno.
Yeah, it's always.
But I don't think it was Sinister who did it. I think it was somebody else.
Yeah, but that's always. Yeah, that's
But
always
it doesn't
been
matter.
his origin was the technovirus thing.
Yeah, he had to go to the future to get rescued by Bishop, or we went with Bishop to hopefully get cured. Which I don't think he ever did or whatever. Or he did, or I don't know.
I really hope in the MCU they take a lot of cues from this and really redeem what Fox did to characters like Bishop.
Yeah.
Because Bishop could have been so much more, and he kind of just got relegated to not. I mean, like, he plays a role in Days of Future Past and stuff, but, like,
He's not really a speaking role.
I really want to see him shine.
We saw Thunderbird, but not really.
Yeah. So this is a trippy episode. So we get the reveal that that this is a clone situation, and then we find out that the Jean that we thought was pregnant and had Nathan she's actually the clone.
Yeah, so how does that work? If Jean and Scott are sending him into the future, then are we is Madeline just...
She just kind of moves on at the end of this episode, which kind of sucks because
no,
that is her
she'll
baby.
She'll be back, but no, yes, it is, but I think they dealt with it in a really excellent way at the end where they were like, who's to say, we can both have a fresh start, because who's to say where our lives ended and where ours began, where yours began, whatever, because we don't know when the clone became me.
This is actually kind of
so they both, not only are they both absolved of genocide because which one of them did it,
yeah,
but also I think Madeline is okay with being like, well, you're his mom and I trust you because you're me. And I know you love Scott, and I know, you know what I mean?
Scott didn't fall in love with me. He fell in love with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm somebody else. I'm not you.
I was playing you.
And it's like, we've talked about, I'm sure we've mentioned multiplicity on this fucking show many times about having, right?
Multiple.
But what's the lesson of the movie? The lesson of the movie is that if you create another you, that's not you anymore. That's another living creature that has its own decisions, its own feelings.
It has the
and
same
everything.
DNA. It looks like you, but it's not you.
Right, but from that moment that it's created, you're immediately, we talked about it in your kitchen, it's a lot like you drive the car off the lot and it immediately depreciates, like a new car. Yeah. It's the same thing. As soon as my clone is created, that clone is no longer me, and I am no longer him, and he's no longer me, because he's already seeing stuff through his eyes that I can't see. Now, he used to see stuff through my eyes, but now he has his own eye. Does that make sense at all? So it's kind of Madeline being able to say, hey, up to this point in my life, I've thought I was you, but now I have this whole fresh start, and I'm gonna fucking take it, man.
I'm not even the Goblin Queen.
You got the baby? Sweet. No,
I'm not even the Goblin Queen anymore.
She'll be back.
But
she should be big.
Yeah, the internet went. Twitter went wild over her look in this episode.
That's what she looks like in the comics.
God, the internet is so horny. Yeah, it just makes me laugh because I'm like, it's a cartoon. I think it was a really interesting episode. Again, it's a really tragic episode, and I feel for Scott, because he always gets fucked over, and I guess that's what makes him such. Yeah,
but also way to go, sound
team,
team, like making the baby sound like it was actually coughing and make me sad. You fucks. I mean, good job.
As a parent, this was a sad episode, because you do put yourself in their shoes and you think of that choice and what is going to be better for the baby, what's going to be better for him. Yeah, go to the future and try and fix this problem. But
also, can we just talk about when you're done? I do want to talk about something.
You fucking dick.
Sorry.
You fucking dick. But it is tragic because you have the whole his dad being coarser and abandoning him to join the Starjammers, and
Well, no, that's not exactly what happened. He got kidnapped and
yeah, but he could never face Scott. Like, he knew a long time ago, but never talked to him until it was too late.
whatever.
Because he couldn't face him. Anyway.
Starjammers were kind of stupid characters.
Whoa, But anyway,
sorry.
but he clearly has abandonment issues, and with everything in his past. So the fact that he has to let his son go into a future that he doesn't even know if he's in, and lose his kid, it's fucking tragic, man. It's a sad story for son. And again, to me, shows the strength of the show is when it's focused on Scott. And then what's mostly always worked in the comics is when Scott has been running the X-Men,
Right, but when
or when like when Storm is running the X-Men,
Storm running the X-Men is awesome.
Because Storm is a great character,
right? When Bishop talks about at one point towards the end of the episode when he's about to leave with Nathan, and he's like, have you ever heard of this in your future? And he's like, it's not like a book. History is not like a book. And if you think about it like that, even things that happened 5 years ago, let's take the internet off the table, okay? In the year 2000, there was even some debate as to things that happened in the 80s, 15 years before. And in the 80s, we had all manner of recording devices and everything, and we had all manner of recording history in all ways and all languages, and right? Video, audio, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
But there's still dispute. And what Bishop was trying to say is that, hey, I don't know. I don't think I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't heard of it that I know of, but who knows? I mean, that doesn't mean it didn't happen just because I didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a very, very, very good point that history is subjective.
It's written by the victors.
That's very true. But I mean, what we're told about certain things, and even like the way we used to view, the way a lot of us used to view, America as a nation and what we can do with it, and what it's capable of, what we're capable of, and everything used to be, I feel like, very different than it is now. Even like 20 years after. 20 years down the road, it's even different from what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, opinions change. Manner of recording and manner of who writes the history as the victors and all that. So, it's a very good point that Bishop makes, I think.
Yeah, and I am surprised that they went this early to going to the traditional, cable storyline. I thought they were going to let that play out a little bit more throughout the season. So now it makes me wonder what the next few episodes are going to be.
I mean, I remember it was, I want to say it was X-Men 200 again, that the trial of Magneto happened. When X-Men 201, and it's a very cool issue. But X-Men 201 was guest penciled by Rick Leonardi because John Romita Jr. needed some time off. And it featured Storm and Cyclops battling each other for leadership of the X-Men. Because Storm told him basically like, hey, you have a family now. You gotta move on. And he was like, no. And this caused a rift between him and Madeline. And at this point, Madeline's a separate human being. Like, Jean Grey's been dead for years. Madeline Pryor is a completely separate person. It's only revealed much later that she's a clone of Jean Grey and Sinister. Sinister's not even in the comics at this point. Okay? So it's just like, you don't even know who he is because he's never been introduced. It's a figment of somebody's. But
it's kind of crazy that with Sinister being such a big X-Men villain that he doesn't get introduced till much later. But
there's, I mean, that's an issue where Nathan figures into it. Rachel Summers actually mind melds Kitty Pryde with the baby.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh my God, this is like the most beautiful thing. Like, because, imagine that, right? Being able to hear, right, just random like, boo, or what, who knows, right? But it's like baby's breath. You know, you smelled the idea of baby's breath is that it's not stinky yet.
Yeah.
Is that the point of baby's breath? That's what,
Wow.
I don't know. But it's kind of the same thing with like. But anyway, yeah, he didn't as a baby. I mean, he wasn't really in the comics that much. I don't think. I mean, sometimes, but more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the next episode he shows up as
He
the
was a
traditional
side character,
Cable
like
that we know.
he was like a Franklin Richards, whatever.
The most I know about, or the most I've
Just
seen
was around. He
about
didn't-
Cable is when he's been teamed up with Deadpool. And I think that's a lot of people's
I had stopped
understanding
reading
of the character.
by the time. So Cable gets introduced before Nathan goes into the future in the comics. I know that because I was still reading comics for a couple years after Cable gets introduced. Because I remember I bought like X-Force 15, which that's at least a year after New Mutants is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's at least 2 years. So, and I know that Nathan goes into the future after I stopped reading comics. So Cable gets introduced, and I don't think it's decided by the powers that be or the writers that Cable is Nathan Summers. I don't think at that time. I think it's retconned at some point to be like, hey, check this out.
Oh, it's
What about-
Cyclops' kid?
What about?
Yeah.
Huh? So kind of like how George Lucas likes to say that he always meant to do 9 parts,
Yeah.
and you're like, bullshit. You didn't say it was episode 4 until after it was huge.
Until he started making prequels. Yeah.
No, until it was he made episode 5 and 6. You know, it was episode 5 was Empire Strikes Back. Episode 6,
Yeah.
right? 4, 5, and 6. Yeah. He did that with 5 and 6, but he tries to say I don't think he's serious because he knows you can look and see.
I don't know about that.
Actually, why does your George Lucas sound like Kermit the Frog?
Maybe they're both.
Is she being
It's
green?
not easy being George. Solid episode. I really don't like the whole Rogue Magneto thing. I do like that.
That fucking flesh creature was creepy.
Oh, it was weird.
Also hot. Just kidding. No, but it was interesting, like how. It was interesting.
What's the deal with kinks?
What's the deal with people being flesh and moved together, melded like people getting welded together?
Like a grilled
Kramer!
cheese. Like a grilled cheese.
It's the Kenny Rogers next door, Jerry.
What? Yeah. I mean, what else is there to say about this episode?
What was the cliffhanger of this one? I forgot.
It was with Storm.
Yes, Forge. Yes,
Forge. Yes,
dude,
Forge.
yeah.
Forge. That was really cool.
Yeah. I hope they bring her back with her powers. So let me just say this: if what they're doing is if they took basically like everything that they hadn't caught up to yet by the time they ended the first run of the cartoon.
Yeah.
So bear with me here. The original cartoon started in 97 or
92.
ended? Okay, so it started but it ended in
Ended
97.
in 97. Yeah.
Okay. So, in 1992, they start the X-Men cartoon, and it's at a certain point in X-Men timeline, comic-wise, like, say, 1982 or whatever. But they add elements from the now or whatever. So, I think it's interesting that they're taking a couple of different, like, storylines that were, like, years long, like, payoffs in the comics and making them, like, half-hour, like, resolutions. And I got to be honest, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
I fucking love this because guess what? You know how long fucking Professor X was maybe going to come back? It was like fucking 10 years, I swear to fucking Christ. And it was like
Yeah.
it was like after a while I was just like I don't fucking care
Well,
anymore.
especially-
for a while, the X-Men were stuck in the Australian outback for like 5 fucking years. Seriously, nobody knew they were alive in the Marvel universe for like 5 fucking years worth of comic books, worth of issues. We're talking, what is that, 60 issues, right?
Yeah.
12 a year?
Yeah.
What the fuck, Claremont? Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of things that take. I mean, Claremont was great, but he took a long time to pay off certain stuff.
Oh, he was all about the long term.
Oh my God! Right?
That
So
was
it's
his
just
big
like,
thing.
yeah. So, and to be clear, the whole Nathan Summers and Cable thing had nothing to do with Claremont. I know that he was like, I know he wrote Nathan being
Say,
born,
isn't that like because?
but he had nothing to do with
like
Cable
X-Force
being
stuff.
Yeah, he had nothing.
Because that was Liefeld, wasn't it? X-Force.
I can't remember. Bob Budiansky, I think, was the writer.
And Liefeld was the artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liefeld wants to say he created, and he probably did create, like, I mean, if he created the character like profile and stuff and said, "Hey, what do you think of this guy? This is what I call him," to the writer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
But he didn't write him.
Well, anyway, another really, really solid episode.
But yeah, Forge is a Claremont thing, and that again in the comics. Sorry to just bore the fucking tits off of you.
I'm trying to fucking.
I'm aware. But listen, Storm lost her powers in the comic books, and again, it took like 10 years for her to get them back. So if you're telling me that it's taken like an episode and a half to get her powers in this show, that's awesome. Don't get me wrong, Storm without her powers was a resourceful, kick-ass character, and she always is kick-ass.
I wonder if they're gonna I wonder because. Do you remember like the mutant massacre stuff?
Oh yeah, that's
so
how
I wonder
she.
Because she doesn't have her powers during that.
She lost her powers in.
But if you remember, that was like the first big like multi-book X-Men crossover.
Yeah. It
And
also involved like Thor was involved in it.
Yeah.
I'm
wondering if they're going with an angle like that or something to that effect. I wonder, but I don't know.
They did
truly
introduce
have
the Morlocks, and they moved them all to, whatever. They moved them all to
the whole Morlock thing is so weird. But yeah.
Morlocks are weird, yeah. But yeah, if they're going that route, that's cool. Yeah, the Mutant Massacre.
That's a different episode for a different day.
See, the dumb thing is okay. I know. Just bear with me.
We're moving on. We're moving on. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, there's a comic. There's a character.
Save it, brother.
Named Rom Space Knight that is owned by Mattel, okay? Or Hasbro. I can't remember. But Marvel, the MCU, James Gunn wanted to bring Rom into the MCU. Did you read about this?
Why are we doing it? Why are you talking about this?
Because for a time, Rom was a huge part of the Marvel Universe, and the dire wraiths that he was fighting showed up in every fucking comic book, right? For a full decade. And the reason why Storm doesn't have her powers is because of a Rom Space Knight story. Because she was trying to help him get rid of the dire wraiths, and she got shot by Forge. Actually shot her with Rom's thing.
Yeah.
And negated her powers for however long it was in the comic. Thanks, Claremont. No, but the funny thing is you can't have that in the X-Men 97 because the toy company that owns it, I can't remember who it is, but the toy company that owns him refuses to let it's the same one that owns the Micronauts. I think it's Hasbro. But
I mean they could.
Well, the Micronauts had
maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
The Micronauts had a big part in the comics as well in the Marvel universe, but they can't use any of that stuff because the toy company won't let them because they're trying to make like a cinematic universe themselves, and it's like, fuck off, man. Let us use ROM, man.
Tyler,
sir, I'm sorry. I gotta spoon. I gotta show my knowledge to everybody. Trying to say it in a not weird way.
Too late.
Too late for love. Now it's time for another segment.
Wow. That was beautiful.
You must be out of your goddamn mind.
If you forgot or didn't think that we would talk about...
I'm sick of me singing.
Oh.
Go ahead. Yeah, don't use that one anymore. Go ahead. No, I'm just saying, like, I sang and then
You're
sang.
gonna let the internet control this show?
No, I'm just saying, like, after I sang myself and then you played me again, it was like, that's enough
too
of
much.
that.
You know what? I'm maybe I'm crazy, but
I'm ballsy.
anyway, let's talk about a movie that just turned 25.
No.
We're gonna what?
Oh, go ahead.
All right then.
It's
Mr.
actually too late. I was gonna Google movies that are 25 years old and spoof you. Be like,
Well, Phantom
the
Menace.
Parent Trap. What?
Phantom Menace turns 25 this year.
I hope. See, this is what bugs me. Last year, total aside,
No, we're gonna talk about
last
this
year was the
thing.
40th anniversary of Return of the
Oh,
Jedi.
fuck.
And I didn't see one goddamn Ewok Village Lego set, okay?
Oh
and,
my god.
And this year, the Phantom Menace, you better be giving me some goddamn Gungans and some Jar Jar Binks minifigures. What?
All right. It's the 25th anniversary of The Matrix. That happened on 31st of March. So I wanted to talk about it because sometimes we do some retrospectives. We did one for the Avengers for that 10-year anniversary. We did one for Starship Troopers. I mean, I went back and I watched this movie back in 2019, so on its 20th anniversary. And then 5 years ago, I was like, this movie still holds up. Now, are there shots from the first Matrix that look like a movie made in 1999? Yes. But the beauty of it is majority of the work you're seeing, a lot of the fight scenes are choreographed. There's stunt performers. And it's just, I don't know, man. I think of what I've seen lately with modern action movies and shows, and I see an over-reliance on CG, and I complain a lot about it on the show. I complain about it on the Halo show.
They don't want to pay stunt performers.
They don't. And
Fucking bullshit.
And it shows because when you have a movie made in 1999 and the fight scenes are fucking good and visceral and awesome because they actually had people really performing, and it's not a fucking computer. It's actual. Now they get out of hand in the next two movies, but
say what you will about Blade Runner 2049, okay?
mm-hmm.
But there's a scene where Harrison Ford's character punches Ryan Gosling's character, and there's a well-known YouTube blooper out there where he actually clocks fucking Ryan Gosling because they're trying to do, whatever, the stage punch or whatever. That's why, that's what good movies do. I mean, I liked Blade Runner 2049, and I'm just saying, like, that's an attention to detail that, like, Denis Villeneuve uses, good filmmakers use.
Just
with
an excuse
CG.
to talk about Denis.
I'm just saying, if
Yes.
you use practical, we talked about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. How much of that movie relies on CG for its like major shots?
Yeah.
And probably fight scenes too.
And
Right?
I mean, and it's not to me it's not
Are there any choreographed fight scenes at all, or
in Aquaman. I stopped caring about that movie a long time ago.
But it shows when a movie doesn't take the attention.
That's what I mean, and that's
take the care.
why so much of this movie stands out still and still holds up all these years later. I mean, like we were talking about it before we were recording. Like the fucking dojo scene is incredible. It is and so much of this movie, and there's a reason like this whole thing took off and it became what it was, is because of just how committed it was and to the decisions it was making, and it was
all the actors are committed
like,
too.
And at times, like when you think there's certain situations where they might be too hammy or overacting, it works for the movie.
Yes.
And like, dude, Lawrence Fishburne is fucking incredible in this movie because he nails and is so committed. He made a choice. He's Stilgar from Dune. It's the same thing. It's like he buys into this. He believes that Neo is the chosen one. He's the one. So, like, his zealotry for him is just, like, I laugh at it because of how hammy it is, but how perfect it is for Morpheus as a character when he's fighting Smith towards the end, and you starting to root for him too because you're like, yeah, he's starting to fucking fight back.
Yeah.
And it cuts to Morpheus and like, what's happening? He goes, he's beginning to believe. Like, just how he delivers it, and it's such a but it's like, fuck yeah, you're right, Morpheus. I'm believing in this guy now.
Like, to totally go along with that, like, I was just gonna say, like, how the actors are so committed to this movie and everything. Like, you kind of have to know there's humor in this movie, but it's not your typical kind of humor. It's a serious fucking movie. And the actors play it like that, and the editing is done, to highlight that, the directing, the writing, all of that. And you can't help but lean into it also, even during the hammy parts, even during, like, and let's be honest, Joe Pantoliano steals the show when he's having the steak. I know this is not real. I don't care.
It feels real. Well, I mean, like, his whole reasoning makes sense.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
If this is the Matrix, okay.
So wait a second. So what you're telling me is I can go back in there and I can...
Yeah.
You'll erase my memories so I won't know.
Yeah.
But I'll be awesome. Now, here's the flip side of that. If you do that, how will you know that you won?
How will you know?
How will you know that the computers held up their end of the bargain? Because they're going to erase your memory so you don't know you're in the Matrix, right?
You're just you're a power source. They don't give a
So
shit.
what
Your
if they...
energy.
So what the fuck? What's to
so,
stop them from making
there's
you
there's a couple things I wanted to
a
talk...
poor dude?
With this being a retrospective, there's a couple things I wanted to talk about. First thing I wanted to say, when do you remember the first time you saw it?
Yes. I could not tell you where or when exactly I was. I know I must have been... No, hang on. Just hang on. Because it'll
all make sense.
It'll make sense. I do know that I was extremely high. And probably... I don't think I was... Actually, I was hungover. And it had been out for a little bit, and my buddies were like, hey, have you seen this? And I was like, no, I haven't seen it, but whatever. I was one of these assholes who, like, if everybody liked it, like, if it was a phenomenon.
A hipster.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
No.
I think everybody has
I don't want to watch Forrest Gump.
I think everybody has a hipster phase at one point, because I've definitely had
It was
that.
a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they popped it in, and I watched it. I couldn't tell you that, but I do remember every thing that was going on screen is etched in my mind.
Yeah.
And just how...
So
I don't think I knew anything about it. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think spoilers hadn't really... I don't even know if I knew that it was about whatever. Does that make... I'm trying to make sense about it. But I didn't go into it blind, but I didn't know anything about it. And within like 10 minutes, you're like, holy fuck, what is this?
Yeah.
And then it just becomes this whole other... It becomes like a thing, man.
Yeah.
And it's fucking crazy how well it's done. The writing, acting, directing, everything. And just, every moment of watching that first time is etched in my fucking mind. Just because it was so good.
I remember it was one of the first movies we had on DVD. And they had a bunch of like special features on it. And that's when I really started to... I was young. I was like I was probably 6 or 7, probably 7 years old when this movie came out. And now, could it be considered questionable parenting that I watched this movie at that age? Yeah, probably. But as a kid, I wasn't like, for me, the dojo scene and the shootout at the fucking tower at the end of this movie, like that, like it's a violent movie, but it's not like overly gory.
No,
because again,
this
is the attention to detail and the beauty of it. If you think about it, when they're assaulting and killing all those people in the tower, that's just computer programmed, so there wouldn't be blood. They're just dead. And I'm like, that's a nice little attention to detail that you don't think about.
When do we see blood? Because we do
It's
see
the
blood.
humans,
Right.
the people that are plugged
in the fucking chairs.
Yeah.
I don't think we see it like in the program. You know what I mean?
No. The agents don't bleed.
Which is another
Yeah.
great attention to detail that the humans in the program don't bleed, but they're
The
physical
people that are
bodies.
jacked in, yeah. But
That was really
I
cool.
remember watching this on home video and then eventually watching it on DVD. But again, I just remember even at that age being truly, because I mean those themes are gonna go over my head. I'm not gonna understand. The action and like I've seen that movie so many times and things that are burned into my brain. And to me, it's always because of just the nature of who I am. Audio cues and music and soundtracks I'm attuned to, and when they assault that fucking tower, I hear that like metal like pounding, like dude, like that heavy beat. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like when they get the guns and the guns, he goes, "I need a gun. I need guns. Lots of guns."
so fucking badass.
And then all the guns show up, right? But and it's that fucking metal clanging in the background and building up the music. And then when they go through the fucking metal detectors, and then it just kicks into the music, and it just fucking all like
that fucking song is dope.
I'll never forget. So again, the 20th anniversary rolls around, and my wife hadn't really seen it. She just known about it because it was such a big thing in pop culture when it was around. So she had known of it. She'd seen the jokes and the clips and
It's
the
hard not
parodies
to
because
have
there's so many
some-
parodies of this fucking movie.
Well, it's hard not to have some sort of,
right?
rudimentary knowledge about it.
But it was fun to watch it with her because I was watching it and I was like, "Oh, this is crazy! Oh, this is a great moment." Like you could tell she always laughs because she always knows that I really like a movie because I get real giddy about it.
Mm.
And like when
It's kind of I'd like to watch The Wire with you.
oh my gosh! But when he like the dojo scene shows up, I got real excited because again, you talk about the music. The music in that fucking dojo scene just perfectly matches it. You know what I mean? And it's the music that's very of that time. It's very got that like weird new kind of techno, but then you hear like gongs in the background because it's a kung fu fight, and it's got like some funk to it. It's like it's so like it's a movie that just fucking commits to its style and goes for it,
Well,
and it's so good.
When you don't know what it's about, and you see previews, obviously, and you probably have known, about the slow motion shit and whatnot. But when you don't
bullet time shit,
right? But when
yeah.
you don't know what it's about, that first like the whole when he comes out of like the tube and shit,
yeah.
like it becomes basically a completely different, like that unlocking that and understanding the rest of it, and then that dojo scene and seeing like what you can
How
do
fast
and
he
shit.
can move and how he can hack the system, like,
Right,
yeah.
I mean, it's just like holy fuck, like wow, like I need to drive
But
something.
again,
like,
the music matching
when
that.
they go in and he's like, I need to drive this or whatever, and he's like, and he hooks him up with the,
yeah.
like.
I need to learn in this. Yeah, well, in the second movie, she's like, I need to know how to drive. Yeah,
Didn't they do that in the first one?
They do,
At some point,
but it's a running thing they do.
yeah, but I mean, like,
Yeah, just things like that. Like, do you download a program?
when you fucking
Again, music cues.
yeah.
When he's fucking in the programs, it is the beat, that pounding, the metal pounding, and then because when he comes out of it, he's like, hell yeah! Like he goes back in there because he's training.
Yeah.
And he's got that beat, and so it's like whenever they're doing shit, like whenever the tension is
Yeah,
building.
I remember when he's like, I just learned kung fu, like
so
that.
music, that music, and then they reprise it when he's getting they're getting the guns, and they bring it back when they're in the tower. And then it kicks
That
into
whole
the fucking
lobby scene
again,
alone,
the fucking
dude.
like bass line when it cuts to them just like that techno shit where they're flipping off the walls, and it's just so good, man.
And you can tell whatever camera speeds or film or whatever they were using, that shit's practical. They were
They just
really
had a
blowing
shit-
the fuck out of all that granite on all those fucking pillars in that fucking room, dude.
They just shot it with a shit ton of cameras.
Right. But they were really
Yeah.
I mean, that's not CGI fucking like,
Yeah.
granite being,
Yeah.
and it fucking shows like we've been talking. That's why this movie still holds up, even though There's a lot of special effects. When it could be achieved, they fucking went practical. And I think that's really fucking important to remember. For God's sakes, Hollywood, you fucks.
Well, and just like the pacing of this movie. This movie is paced perfectly. Like unbelievably perfect. Because there's such that buildup, but there's still that, like I said, you still have the dojo scene, you still have the fights with the Sentinels, you still have things building to where we're headed. And then once Neo and Trinity go to save Morpheus, this movie kicks it into another gear that is just like, again, I am still in awe of how fucking perfect the payoffs are. Because you get everything you want. Like, this third act was, like, maybe it's because I've seen so many movies come out where the third act, it kind of falls apart. So it's kind of crazy to go back and think about a movie that really fucking nails the third act. Because as soon as they show up in that tower, it is balls to the wall. Like, it is action.
Yeah.
And perfectly sprinkled, we have people outside of the Matrix. We still have tension. They're fighting the Sentinels while he is fighting all this by himself. You know what I mean? And well, the fucking the helicopter scene when he does the dodge thing that gets parodied all hell, but then when he fucking the slow-mo of him swinging the rope around to catch the fucking helicopter and pull up Morpheus, and they have like that bro high five. I'm like, fuck yes, man. Like, it's just so perfect. And then she gets, like, we lead to Trinity getting out of the Matrix, Morpheus, now it's Neo, and then we get the subway shit where he's doing the weird fighting in the air and shooting each other. And then like, it keeps going, and then it ends, and you're like, holy shit, that was incredible.
And it ends with fucking
him flying up.
It ends with what I consider to be the best song off of Rage Against the Machine's first album.
In my opinion, the greatest needle drop to the end credits I've ever seen. Cause it just hits wake up, boom, and it's just like perfection. Yeah. And I don't think the sequels deter this movie deter this legacy.
I think,
or dampen this legacy. I think this movie stands so well on its own that
here's what I like. One thing I want to say is that when for a while after the sequels came out, and I was huge into the Matrix for a while. I had the Animatrix, I had all that shit. I had the
I never watched the Animatrix stuff
or
played the games.
Good. I didn't play the games, but I was huge into the Matrix when the second one came out. You know, like I bought like a special edition, like $12, you know, those books you can get like in the Impulse at like Target and grocery store. You know what I'm talking about, like special edition behind the scenes, you know. And I bought that, and I was just all into the fucking second sequel. Which one is it? Revolutions or Reloaded? Well, and Revolutions with the third one. Yeah. And what's the one?
It's Reloaded, Revolutions, Resurrections.
Now, no, they are not very good. And the second one, they're not terrible.
The second one has its moments, man.
Right, but
like that fucking freeway sequence. Oh my god!
Because it's practical.
It's an amazing sequence.
Built a fucking like 3 mile highway just for that. But yeah, the whole parodying of Sean William Scott. The guy who was in American Pie.
Sean William Scott.
Yeah, and Justin Timberlake. They did a whole thing during the MTV Video Music Awards that year where they parodied...
This is probably the MTV Movie Awards.
Might be. And Will Ferrell ended up being... Do you know what I'm talking
that
about?
Was in the second for the second movie, yeah.
Yes, right. And that was when it kind of became silly and whatnot. But I think if you view... For a long time, I didn't understand the story and what it was about with the Wachowskis.
Yeah.
Now that I know what the story's about, I give a lot more.
Well, understanding that it's a trans allegory and that Neo's journey.
I don't mind so much that the sequels aren't as good.
Yeah.
Because I think they had to finish that story. And when you also cap it with Resurrections, which I think was done very well.
Yeah,
I think it kind of forgives the Merovingian type shit and all that. The Merovingian in Resurrections is hilarious, right? Isn't he? He's so dumb.
I don't want to resurrect talking about that movie.
Do you remember what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
though?
But
Viewed for that
I just-
lens, I don't think
Yeah.
the sequels are as bad as I used to, and I don't hate them as much as I used to.
given their story,
But I still wouldn't watch them again.
given their story and being what this being a trans allegory, and it really is. Like,
It
I mean,
is.
I don't see.
Absolutely.
Once
is,
I
and
had
they've
someone
said so.
explain that to me, or once I had seen that explained to me, I'd be like, that makes a lot of sense. I never viewed it that way.
It blew my fucking mind
But-
how much sense it made.
And again, giving the directors, I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And it's a fucking genius story if you think about it that way.
Have you ever seen Cloud Atlas? I think it was the first movie they did after they transitioned or right before.
I've not seen it. I've heard about it, but I have not seen it.
It's really interesting because Tom Hanks plays like 4 different you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. There's like 4 different timelines.
Anybody
and
listening, give it a shot. Now, there is some racist shit in there because I think one of
They also
I
did
think, I think if I'm not mistaken, either somebody plays an Asian woman who isn't Asian. But
Yikes.
and there was some backlash at it, but it's done with a lot of makeup. I can't remember. I want to say I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
They also did Speed Racer,
Yeah, I've never seen that, but I've heard
which is a weird movie, and
I've heard that
different episode, different day. But yeah, so The Matrix turns
Matrix still
25.
holds up.
Unbelievable that
Yeah.
and I still think a lot to this day. I think a lot of movies have taken a lot from what this started. It really changed the game.
You still see the movie tricks that they used in this film used today. I mean, when you think about when you think about what movies were before Citizen Kane, all of the basic angles that we see every day in basic TV cable shit that we see, you never saw those before Citizen Kane. He was the first one to do
Yeah.
shots from the ground and shit like that. Basic stuff, right? It's the same thing with the Matrix. Once it's used to perfection, then other people are going to copy it. And it's going to become part of I guarantee you within a year it was being taught at at movie academies and shit. Like, hey, movie academies. Hey,
All right, Tyler,
where'd you go? I went to movie academy. My name is Steven Spielberg.
for the second week in a row,
I'm being a douche.
we're doing some comic reviews.
Comic reviews.
In my hands, we have Defenders #2 by Al Ewing and Javier Rodriguez. Sucked. Hated it. No, I'm kidding.
Wow.
So yeah, the main thing about this is we're spending a good portion of the issue hanging out with the mother of Galactus.
Yeah. Her name is Taia. The cover of the comic, the original cover, every cover has variants.
Yeah,
now,
of course.
Which I made the mistake getting this variant. I wish I wouldn't have. I got mostly of the originals of these, and the Punisher covers are fucking exquisite.
Yes.
So are these, but I made the mistake, or I couldn't find another.
Yeah, I was really confused. I was like, why is there a Namor book here?
That's the only one I could find that was Defenders #3, and it was a variant. You'll see that in a couple of the books that I bring over.
You bastard.
I fucking know. Anyway, so we meet Taia, who is the mother of Galactus. We meet Omnimax, who is this cosmos's Galactus, if you will.
Yeah.
The Annihilator, I think, is what the Doctor Strange calls him in the first book. It's from Doctor Strange's perspective in the first book. This book is from the perspective of Silver Surfer.
which I thought I was really excited about. Because I think that's what the interesting I think that's an interesting plot device that each issue is a different character's perspective.
Which is cool, and it makes sense why it kind of lends credence to a 5-issue miniseries, which again, I'm used to like 4 or 12. Honestly, when I was growing up, it was 4 or 12. 12s were like, whoa, but 4s were the norm. You have a 4-issue miniseries. Kitty Pryde and Wolverine was a 4-issue miniseries. Fucking great, fucking miniseries. But it is a great plot device. The thing to me is I love history, and I love, our history, which, real history, not comic book
human history.
Yes, human history. But I love like when they talk about, you know, the stuff before the Marvel Universe, when they talk about the first host and the second host and the Celestials and the fucking cosmic bullshit. I go ape shit for that stuff. So when this book came out, and I bought it on a whim just to see what it was like, I actually bought a really expensive variant, which is, I think, worth some money for number one, that I keep hidden away, and then I bought a copy to read.
Oh, yeah.
But I had no idea that they were doing this, and, you know, of course, I'm just fucking, you know, going gaga over this book because we're doing what I've always wanted to do, which is see what happened before. What was Galactus like? If you ever read Silver Surfer Black, that 5-issue miniseries, there's a
Donny
moment.
Cates.
Yeah. Oh my God. Great book. I can't remember the artist, but that art was crazy. There's a moment where Silver Surfer has the choice to, he is between the fucking cosmoses, and he's got fucking Galen's ship.
Yeah.
That turns into the egg, that turns into, you know, New Ta 2, which is Galactus' ship, whatever. But he has the choice. Like, does he destroy Galactus here? Or does he, you know, and it's really cool because he meets fucking Galen of Ta. He meets the fucking astronaut that turns into fucking, that's so cool to me.
Yeah.
Anyway. So,
and then he meets the baby
which
in this issue.
And they do a really, really cool thing where Silver Surfer kind of gets his revenge a little bit in a way, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. I mean, we don't. So it's mostly about them dealing with Omnimax, where they ended up at the end of the first issue. But the things that I love about it, and I think this is when you see two creators on a book, styles really mesh well, and with Al Ewing's plotting and writing and Rodriguez's art. I mean, just the way it reads, when you look at things like when there's these rocks falling at them, and the perspective that you're reading at, where it's one direction with Cloud and Harpy, and then their perspective is changed where it's the reflection of the rocks, the craters flying at them.
Yeah.
And then you cut to the next page, and you just, again, much like that first issue, the art has this almost to me looks like Dave Gibbons almost in terms of shading and coloring and that style.
There's a
you
know
what I mean? Like Watchmen, Dave Gibbons around that era.
Javier Rodriguez has a very 50s, 60s flavor to his style, if you will. Like, there's not a lot of musculature. There is, but it's not common. It's not the norm, right?
Yeah.
Like Taia, for example, is not, I mean, she's clearly feminine, but she's not like your typical like 90s superhero spandex, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But she's clearly like she's clearly a babe, you know what I mean?
I mean, she's hot.
Listen, I got the hots for Galactus'
And then
mom.
you have shots like the reflection in Silver Surfer's face when he sees Galactus, and then you see the outline, like as a child, but then you see an outline
Galen of Ta,
yeah. And yeah, it's an interesting setup because we meet Galen, we see an interaction here. Now, this is what's interesting. So, Silver Surfer again has that question. He's like, "Why don't I kill him here? End it now. Stop all of this." Because I know he's going to destroy the sixth cosmos. I know he's going to destroy this.
Well, no, he survives it.
Well, but he's going to.
Then he becomes Galactus in the next. Yes,
he'll see. Or no, he said he'll see the destruction of this universe. Yes.
Yes. But then he survives that and becomes Galactus. Yeah. He becomes a force of nature.
But the interaction that I thought was the most intriguing of the book is between the Masked Raider and the Silver Surfer, because it's setting up something, and we're getting a little bit of hints here and there at who the identity is, where the Surfer knows, like, I know who you are, I can sense your aura.
Can I just say,
you know what Strange is doing?
Can I just say, I know exactly who the Masked Raider was, because I finished the series.
Oh.
But I have not read number 5, and I don't want to until we actually review that night, because I can't remember exactly who it is, and I want it to be a surprise to us both. Because I can't remember who it is. I have my suspicions, because I've read through 3 now. I almost read 4, and I really wanted to. I flipped through it, but 4 is fucking crazy. Anyway, continue.
But it's again, it's the same art, but it's done in such a way where
But Silver Surfer gives Galen conscience.
and lets him see what he becomes and what happens when he eventually becomes Galactus and all the death and
He basically says, if I was kind, I would let you just become a force of nature when you become what you are. But what I'm doing is I'm giving you a pause to see what you're doing. When you're hungry,
giving you a choice.
No, I'm telling you that you're going to still have to consume planets, but you're gonna fucking feel all that pain of killing all that life just to satisfy your hunger. I could let you become like a tornado with
And it
no
doesn't
thoughts
affect you, it doesn't-
whatsoever, but you are gonna become a tornado with fucking thoughts and feelings, dude. That's kind of kick ass.
Again, the art is just complements the story so well and is great. But like again, shots. Like I focus so much on certain elements
yeah.
in that first issue, and again, like the fact that we're getting a close-up shot of the Silver Surfer, but it's shaded, and in that shading is actual exposition. It's actual nothing. Again, there's no page real estate that's wasted on this book.
Well, okay, so one thing I do want to touch on before we get too far, or rather, at some point before we finish, is they talk about, I think in either the first issue or this one, that the Scienceers is what Taia is. She's a Scienceer. They're what this cosmos' superheroes were. And I would love for a creator or two to get into that and create like some sort of like you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love, and the way Taia speaks also with the quotation marks, it's really, really interesting. Like, can you read one of her bubbles and just out loud?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to do it?
No. Like what?
Well, I don't know if you know what I mean.
We find a good one here.
Anyway, the point is while he looks for one, is that she puts quotation marks around certain things, and it's not exactly clear. Yeah, here we go.
About time, you lollygaggers. My personal space skimmer is prepped and ready. Behold the life bringer.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good one.
like every so often,
I'll
every
find
couple
one.
words,
I'll find
it's
Yes.
quotes. For some reason.
One of the first ones
Like
in this
she
issue,
she
actually.
talks like I imagine Stan Lee talks, or how if
So okay,
she talks like Stan Lee.
the first like 4 bubbles are her. Behold, the quote unquote impossible foe himself, Omnimax. You quote unquote time tourists have quote unquote made the scene of a deadly crisis. Here it comes, the quote unquote first strike. Hold fast, it's a quote unquote quake. You know what I mean? Like, it's the way that she, the civilians are outside. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Just no need, quote unquote, Mr. Metallic. Taia will reel in this quote unquote fish. And I hate saying that so much. But you got to kind of read it, but it's just the way that you can tell that I can't describe it to you, but when I'm reading it, it makes sense to me. And I like that way of writing a dialogue bubble. If you also notice, like, Doctor Strange's dialogue is all in lowercase.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of interesting. Cloud, I think, is too.
Mm-hmm. So we get to the point where we find the herald for Omnimax,
who is Carlo Zota, which that's the guy they're following.
Yeah, he's like just the Masked Raider was like just the guy we wanted to see. So he and Silver Surfer have a fight. He's got the power cosmic. He's gonna win the fight, and then they're using to fight the Omnimax is a Mother Cube. Which, okay. This is classic DC and Marvel just being like, they got mother boxes? Well, we have Mother Cubes. See, it's different. But they're gonna use that, so yeah, it funnels all this emotion, like you were talking about, which Silver Surfer does to Gallon. They're gonna do to the Omnimax, and it's gonna drive them insane or whatever. Silver Surfer notices this, so then he baits Zoda into a fight where he's like, "All right, you want to settle this? Let's do. You think you're gonna kill me? You can." And I was talking to my wife about this when I was reading it, and I showed this splash page to her. And so one panel is sideways coming down. It's the Surfer. The other one is Zoda. And then there's these little streaks that come down from the panel and are zigzagging in the background. Why is it in the background, you say? Because the way that you read,
a splash page.
The way that you read is left to right, and the paneling is left to right. So you are reading things to get more of the story, and while that is happening, these two are colliding into each other. And the captioning itself is in the past tense of saying the two heralds will collide. Fucking genius.
I want it. This is
and
one
then
of
look at that page. It looks like a fruit roll up. There's an explosion.
and
Unbelievable.
it's a beautifully written. And then Silver Surfer gets lost. He gets sent back to his own time. So now there's only 4 defenders.
Sucks him back in, and then we get to the last shot of Good Tidings says, More I done. Good tidings for the end of days.
So they're going back to the 5th cosmos, I believe.
Stranger than strange. The next issue. So,
but the book is beautifully written. It's beautifully drawn.
Like I said, it's a great pairing. Two guys that I think.
It's a bizarre kind of story, isn't it? I mean, it's just like, what the hell are we doing? But it's also like you can't help but be a part of it. You probably have it backwards.
Well, and this is something like I would love to see on.
I've been doing this since I was 12.
This is a series I'd love to see on Disney Plus.
Right?
And I would love to see an animated, not even necessarily live action, animated. Like this would be really fun.
It would have to be animated, honestly.
But
to get as beautiful, and Rodriguez would have to have a big part.
Again,
of it.
it's the first issue. I said it felt like I labeled it as a modern throwback. And this issue, I think, reestablishes that, but it also is just...
We're going back to the Kirby, cosmic shit.
Yeah.
Just the out of this world like type of like what the hell. And I live for those types of cosmic stories because how many times are you gonna have Spider-Man fight Doc Ock? How many times are you gonna have Batman fight Joker? But when you go outside the box like this, what is this story even about? Like, Carlos Zoda is a fucking nothing character in the Marvel Universe, but you're going to build this entire thing around this character? Okay, go for it, man. I'm along for the ride. Fuck yeah, dude. Let's do this, Like, that's cool. It's outside the box. It's different thinking. It's let's explore every fucking cosmos of the Marvel Universe. Let's go back to when the Marvel Universe was nothing but a thought. And what are we going to find? And that's what's fucking brilliant.
We're going to find Frank Castle.
Frank Castle is upon the show. Number 2, Jason Aaron, Jesus Saiz, and one other guy I can't remember. Paul Azakita. Right?
Wow. That was great. That was like a jingle. So, Punisher number 2. This is
Dreaming.
Book 1, Chapter 2, King of Killers. So we're getting a little bit more. I will say I love that they keep this thing from the first issue of doing flashbacks in a different art style than
I think it's a different artist. I think Azakita does the flashback
stuff. Okay.
It's a lot rougher. Like the
I love that look though.
The art's right. So the art style of the general art style of, you could say, the current timeline or the current what's going on right now, the art style is very painted almost. It's fucking gorgeous and it's gory as fuck and it's awesome, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost painted, it looks like. And then the flashback scenes are very like Joe Kubert, or Kubert, I don't know how you, Kubert, but he's an old comic book artist. But Joe Kubert, he used to draw like that, kind of really just rough. but so beautiful. You can still, I mean, it's really, yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So yeah, we get a flashback of.
I love when they show his wife too. Like they throughout the series, they continue with like the bullet hole scars,
yeah.
which is just really visceral.
Yeah.
Because you never don't see those
Yeah.
while she's in the book. I think at the very end, maybe.
So yeah, we have captions, but we notice the captions are red. And the red means we're having this from the perspective of the priestess. And she's talking about young Frank Castle, who's getting in trouble for having all the roadkill he's been bringing home. He's got guns that he's been gun magazines that he's been hiding. He's been getting into fights. She even mentions he already killed someone at this point, which is kind of fucked up. And again, this already reestablishes what I felt after the first issue, which is, okay, I like what we're doing here. We are continuing to build this mythos through the perspective of the priestess, right? And we are truly seeing what the idolization of someone like Frank Castle leads to.
Yes.
Although he is killing bad people, you shouldn't. He, again, what we always get back to is he doesn't get to make that choice.
Yes.
He doesn't get to do that.
Just checking one thing. Keep going.
But it already kind of establishes that tone for me. And then after that scene, it shows Maria and Frank in bed. We see the bullet holes, and again, because of the hard change in art style. And the more painted on realistic look with the bullet holes is just really unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, and that's what you're supposed to feel, because you're like, oh my gosh, they found her corpse and reanimated her corpse.
You want to be reminded of that every fucking time. Yes.
And because this is Frank's story, he is reminded that, because when she's talking to him, she's like, I love my husband. And he goes, I love my wife. And he's staring up. And then he changes. And
the art style, you can tell, like, they'll show that he is, like, while he's holding her, like, he can't help but, like, he can't help but, like, run his hands over the bullet holes. You know what I mean?
And
like,
have the flashbacks of her laying there and dying.
So even he's like, I know this isn't right. This isn't real,
These eyes have beheld blood-drenched perfection. That's what they say. Wow. I just look at some of these shots. Like, again, the art is so good. And, especially with the Defenders book and, like, reading these two books in tandem is, like, you think about how much this medium has come as a visual. It's always obviously it's a comic book. It's always been a visual medium, but like if you go back and you look at those books in like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they're very fucking wordy.
Yeah.
Whereas these are a lot more reliant on visuals, and there's a good amount of dialogue and captions and things like that. But I mean, like there's some really good shots of just nothing's happening. It's just two characters being in the scene, and it looks great. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And that scene with Maria is an example. Like they're laying in bed, but it's still engaging because of the bullet hole, like the details of the bullet holes and the flashbacks and all that stuff. It's just it's well crafted. Like again, it's a really good book. We go to Frank training with the sword, and the priestess being like, "You are far and away. You are the You are the fist of the hand. Like we believe in you. You don't need to do this." But Frank is like, "No, I want to do this."
So remember the first book, he said, I'm having a little trouble with this because he didn't kill the guy right the first way. He wants to get better with the sword, with the katana. Well, he's never. He's always been a bullet guy. So.
Oh, and one of my favorite thing. She goes, "You," to one of the hand ninjas. She goes, "You, what is your name?" He says, "It doesn't matter what my name is. All I am is a maggot at the foot of the beast." Well done, maggot. Now tell the High Slayer when you first picked up your sword. And then they kind of go through and explain, like, these are sold into slavery. These are people that came from Latveria and all these bad places.
Yeah.
And so he has a fight with the one that has a mask on. They call Maggot. He catches the sword It cuts through his hand, but then he breaks both the swords and then headbutts him and his like helmet breaks. And again, because of the art style, the blood and gore of this book is so visceral.
Yeah.
Because the priestess was like, she goes, this is where this issue in particular probably would piss off a lot of fucking chuds. And I'm sure it did when it came out. But the fact that she says, I always knew the best killer for the hand, she says, for centuries now, one land has shown as a propensity for violence beyond all others. From genocide to slavery to shopping mall shootings, in today's world, if you seek the king of killers, you look to America.
Do you remember when I was reading this first time and I brought this to you and showed it to you?
Yeah.
Because I wanted you to see how, like, ouch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that or not, but the shot, I mean...
Yeah.
Is this where she shows that she killed all the
leaders
of the hand?
other
That's
zealots.
fucking badass.
There's
She
blood
literally
all over.
killed every other like high priest
Because I just like, I know what I'm going for him.
because they were pissed that she was trying to get a Gaijin.
outsider and
Yeah.
an American.
So fucking like and dude, that is I fucking hate to tell you this, America, but those words are fucking true whether you like it or not.
we kill each other
And
a lot.
we are not doing jack shit about it. It is getting worse, and people in power who have the power to do things aren't doing shit. So moving on.
Yeah. And one of my things that I like about this is Frank does have some good one-liners. Because she keeps going on and on about him, and he just goes, preach your sermons all you like, just make sure your people kill who I tell them to kill and no one else, or deals off. And I like this because, again, this is what makes the Punisher so interesting, I think, in some way. Where it's like, he's full of shit. Frank Castle is full of shit.
Yep.
And again, this book is deconstructing it more and more because he is still extremely violent and kills a lot of people in this book. But he still thinks he can have a moral code and be like, well, I'm killing these people. And again, it goes back to that thing. And I know that's going to be the theme of this book is like, you don't get to decide that.
Yeah.
You don't.
No.
But then you got this fucking priestess pumping him up saying like, yes, you do.
And there's nothing
worse. These people deserve to be killed.
And there's nothing worse than a cop using the Punisher logo.
And that's really what this whole story is taking
There's
that logo
nothing
and
worse,
saying
dude.
that like people need to understand that Frank Castle's not a hero.
No. He's a piece of shit who kills people. He's a murderer. He's a cold-blooded murderer.
But yeah, so then we get get a flashback to show that the priestess was knew about Frank a long time
when
ago.
he was like a kid.
And she hands him a knife and he tells her to fuck off. Which again, can I just say, this is what's so dumb as shit about comic books. Why is this censored?
What do you mean?
Fuck, he says fuck off and it's censored.
Oh, well, yeah, but they've always done that.
No. You can't. This is what's so stupid about this.
It's not censored. They always use the ampersands and stuff to denote cursing.
Just say fuck.
They've always done that, and it's not
a book like this.
True.
Come on.
Whatever.
I know, just a little nag. But
we got to get to the best
the
part, which
of War
oh my
show
god,
up. One of
dude.
them does with a Hulk gun.
Yeah.
And tells him about it like a sign of peace, and Frank just destroys it with a sword, with a katana.
But he's unarmed, or is he?
Oh my god, dude!
Right?
So he's like, see, you'll see him unarmed, and then rips open a fucking wound,
a fucking
stitched
stitched.
shut, pulls out a gun. It says the gift of death that bless the war, and then
Castle just beats the fuck.
Castle.
He starts showing the powers of the Fist of the Beast, which is supernatural.
His eyes are glowing red, and
we're talking omniscience and super strength, and I mean, we're talking cosmic power here.
Yeah,
dude.
they're turning.
This is just
they're turning
the
the Punisher into the God of War.
This is just the beginning.
What's happening?
Yes and no.
In
I
a
mean,
way, he's
yeah.
gonna fight the God of War. I know
Right,
that.
but yeah,
the only war I give a damn about is mine. When I'm like, so there's Frank slipping and telling us the truth. and showing us
He said
again
the quiet part out loud.
he's a shitty dude. A hero would never say that. The only way I care about is mine. I don't care if all these people kill each other. Oh my God. But again, he's mad before that, has an outburst because they're going to criminals, his weapons. But then he decides, like, he's such a fucking hypocrite, and I love it. I love that this book is...
This is one of the most important... This is the most important Punisher story you'll ever read. Ever. And especially as somebody who grew up in the era when Punisher became such a huge thing...
And people didn't get that he's not a good person. And
I might not have either. You know what I mean?
Anti-hero doesn't mean... Like,
Might not have either.
Yeah.
Because in those stories, a lot of the stories in the 80s and 90s, they were very clear. He's killing drug dealers. He's killing...
yeah.
But
Still...
this story is telling us...
It's not good. You shouldn't kill people.
It doesn't matter. Yes. Anyway.
So anyway, she presents the 3 daggers that she presented in the first issue and then in the flashback earlier. So he finally picks his dagger.
That's fucking... That part where she describes who it was. Describe it. Read it.
Oh, jeez.
I'll read it.
As a child, you...
Okay.
That is the very same dagger that was wielded by Shinsuke Ishiyama. I think Ishiyama, the dread daimyo of...
Daimyo.
You know what? You read it, because I can't.
That's what I was... It's fine.
Well, you know what?
I love this shit. As a child, you wanted to choose but hesitated. This time, you proved yourself true. That is the... And she's crying. You know what I mean? Like happy tears. That is the very same dagger that was wielded by Shinsuke Ishiyama,
And he
the
was a
dread
bad
daimyo
motherfucker.
of Kumamoto and last known Fist of the Hand, who committed seppuku 144 years ago, killing himself just as beautifully as he had butchered so many thousands of others. But there's a picture of it, of this dude in this like demon mask in this like flaming like room, just fucking slicing this dude's neck open.
It's beautiful.
Right? It's again, we've talked about this a couple times that, you know, since we've been doing this. I want to make it clear. I don't glorify in this violence and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't. I don't think... I think too much violence is a bad thing. I know we're capable of it, but I think it's important to understand this, whatever. And we're going to get to the rest of the book.
God, man, it's entertaining.
But the way it's done and drawn, it is so... Again, at the end, too, where he meets the god
he
of
meets
the
the
hand,
murder god.
which is just this gigantic
Behold
fucking
your
demon.
god.
And you can tell he's unsure
Bow
if
before
he's...
your god.
You can tell he's unsure if he's on the right path there.
Yeah.
He's got like, oh my God, am I really... Ugh.
The high, but just like
'Cause
the
Frank
name,
Castle-
the name High Slayer is cool. High Slayer of the Hand.
Think about it like this, though. Frank Castle was derived from Castiglione. His parents changed it when they were in America, okay? But he's Italian Catholic. He was raised Catholic, and he's being told to bow to the devil. Look at his face in that next panel and tell me he's not having second thoughts. But the end part, fuck,
So then we
dude.
cut to
Because we haven't seen Ares yet.
we have a
We've heard
gun.
about him.
We have an arms deal, and our introduction is him punching a dude in the face
so hard.
His jaw is reconstructed.
The bottom of his jaw is still there, but the rest of it is just gone.
In the words of who's the dude who did Bad Leroy Brown?
Baddest man in the whole world.
Yeah, who did the
I don't know, Jim Croce.
Jim Croce. In the words of Jim Croce, he looked like a jigsaw puzzle with a couple pieces gone, to say the least. So yeah, we finally see. But again, it's done, written and drawn so well that you don't actually see Ares, and he's like, oh god, he's up in the air, and he just crushes this
But
car.
he just destroys.
And you see how much bigger he is than these normal looking people.
He's not a regular human size.
And you look at him as like, oh, this is a Greek god. This is literally a Greek god.
Which I think is
And
cool
then
that
he
he's got the
stands-
suit, right?
Yeah, and he stands. Yeah, and you know what? Funny enough, it reminds me of Percy Jackson in a way, where it's like, oh, we're
Kinda
gonna
bringing it back around on Ares, isn't he?
No, I still fucking hate him because
Yeah,
he's
he's a
lame.
fucking
I'm
douche,
just kidding. But anyway, it says war it is, and exactly how I want it. And he's stepping on someone's skull.
He's crushing somebody's skull while he does it. But I
What a
I gotta one thing I just don't want to pass over this. This is why he's mad at them, okay?
Oh, yeah, because they wouldn't go to war.
Yeah, you cowards, you eagerly take of the bounty I bring to this world, my guns, and then you dare commit the greatest of insults. Insults, all due respect, I got no idea what you're talking about. We paid you apostles for every last bullet and bomb. You paid with money. I care nothing for money. You insult my weapons by not using them. Rival tongues surrendered as soon as they saw our firepower. Weren't no need for war. What did you just say? Look, we don't want trouble. That's why we came all this way, just to make peace with...
Oh, and then that makes him punch that
Yeah.
dude's face into oblivion.
And where does he say it?
You
How
don't
dare
say
you
the
use
P word in front
about-
of me. I was like, oh my God. But that's what I mean.
He's
That's
such
what
a,
makes Jason
he's the
Aaron so-
ultimate chud, dude.
That's what I
he's
mean.
the ultimate chud.
That's what I mean. Jason Aaron is so good. He also makes Ares this fucking loser.
Yes.
And I love it.
It's
I
fucking
love
great.
it.
I fucking love that book. Yeah.
Bless the war. Fucking.
Plus, it's funny, but it's also kind of cool, but it's also
I love it.
Yeah,
It's great.
fucking great.
It's
yeah.
great. Great. Can't wait to read number 3. Tyler,
Oh, boy.
I don't really have one, but I know you
We
have
don't-
one.
Yeah,
so
well, let's
we
close
got
out
a
the show on a
special
high
one.
note. We got a special one, and that's good because I'm about ready to be out of here anyway.
Bust.
Touch and bust.
Tyler, you have a special treat for us. You have a movie you watched?
Yeah. It's called Maximum Conviction. And the reason why I watched it is because it stars two of our favorite people, Steven Seagal and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I actually dropped a couple clips. What? Hang on. Don't play the clips yet.
Sorry.
God damn it. So I dropped you a couple clips. So
You fucking bastard.
you fuck. I worked hard on that. So the clips are the show, the movie.
I'm sorry.
The movie, that's not a clip. The movie is about these two guys who are trying to stop all of these horrible convicts from leaving this prison. But yeah, so I couldn't tell you. The Steven Seagal plays the warden, and Stone Cold plays one of the guards. And here's an exchange where Steven Seagal is telling, or is asking, he's telling Stone Cold about a possible riot in the prison.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Because now I will snatch every motherfucker birthday. What?
That's great acting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell the chemistry.
But what about the next scene?
The next scene starts with Stone Cold, and he's seeing what's going on in the prison. So he don't do anything yet. We'll play the clip in a second. But the scene starts with Stone Cold looking at the monitors, and he's just like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And Steven Seagal comes in and he goes, this is what we're gonna do, and then you see Stone Cold's reaction, and so we're gonna play Stone Cold first.
What?
And then Steven Seagal comes in.
Kind of bizarre combination of monkey shit.
And then of course Stone Cold.
What?
Yeah. The reason why this is not working at all is because Steven and Stone Cold are fucking really close together, and I can't fucking keep them apart.
Every once in a while.
And that's the end of the movie.
What?
It's 2 thumbs down.
This podcast as well. 2 thumbs down. -5
Thumbs
stars.
down in your eye. Now I'm gonna go and have some pie.
Hey. Yeah.
Whoa!
Whoa.
The demon came out from behind the shack to demand some pie, Scooby-Doo.
Ruh-roh. What do you want?
I
Not
got
every outro's
nothing. I
fucking
got
gold.
fucking
You know what?
nothing.
No. Listen
You know
to me,
what?
listener. You fuck. How dare you listen to this far into the episode? You should be punished. That's what you're getting right here, dude.
You should be spending time with your family. I mean, you heard all
bastard.
the funny stuff and the news.
What do you expect from me?
Also, why are you coming to us for news? The internet. There's this thing called the internet.
Look it up.
Hey, you should Google it.
Yeah.
No, but all honesty, if you are still listening, we do really appreciate your support, and tell all your friends and subscribe and all that stuff. And we hope you come back next week. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.